Didn't.
Actually got the ball. Good morning, my fellow quarter-finalists. How we all keeping today? Hopefully we're all keeping well. We are here to build up to the big game today in the London Derby as we take on Fulham. Anyone that is going to game, make sure you enjoy that little boat party that seems to be included on this trip. Today. But big game and a real opportunity for Tottenham to try and build on momentum and build a good feel factor heading into the international break. Now, everything you need to know, we are away at Craven Cottage today. Kickoff is at 1:30 p.m. Referee is Andy Madley. In the VAR room is Paul Tierney. If you want to watch the game in the UK and Ireland, you can't. If you want to watch the game in the USA, it's on NBC Sports. And if you want to watch the game in Australia, it's on Up the Sports. In terms of players missing today, Radu Dragison's still out, Richarlison's still out, Kulusevski's still out, and Danzo are still out. For Fulham, they're missing Wilson, Tete, Nelson, Lukic, and Traore. So that's everything you guys need to know. Let's welcome some people in at home, and then let's crack on. Big up, DJ Samuel. Great to see you. We've got William Webb in the house. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well, William. Big up, my man. We've also got Eltal in the house. Big up, Eltal. Hopefully you're keeping well, sir. We've got Dane from the lane. Big up. Come on, you Spurs. Love to see that. Levon is in the house. Big up, brothers. Got you boys on as I try to sleep. Hoping I wake up to the boys. If not, I hope to wake up to a Tottenham 3-1 win. Come on, you Spurs. Suppose, well, yeah, it would be evening time for you there. Yeah, you're opposite to me. Jesus Christ, make sure you do get a bit of sleep, live on. We've got Aussie, Kois is big up. Dave and Jack should be an interesting team sheet. Hopefully can get the job done. Let's wrap VDV and Cotton Wool and keep them safe for Frankfurt. A bit of an interesting one on that. I know many people feel a bit differently about resting the likes of Van der Ven today. Sean Pierce, hopefully you're okay, buddy. Let us know in the chat. Hopefully it's not too serious. Big up Rasta County. Great to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. We've also got Thomas Whitaker in the house. Great to see you. We've got Steve from Stateside Footy. Hopefully you're keeping well. I was on his channel yesterday. If anyone wants to get across and check out my appearance there. I'll be okay. I collapsed a couple of days ago. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, my man. Hopefully they're running tests and getting to the bottom of it for you, man. Big up, Sean. Keep us updated on your progress. Big up, Spurs GCTV. Great to see you. The one and only Ribeye from Down Under. Great to see Ribeye. Need to get him back on here again soon as well. He had a great appearance last week. Nick Carey says, morning, chaps. Big moment. Swinger today. Let's finish the season strong. Come on, you Spurs. Absolutely spot on, man. We also have 3DEN says, if we beat the international break curse, Andrew's officially turned it around. Well, I think we've only have we won any of our games heading into the international break? I don't think we have. I think we've lost all 5. If I'm correct on Ange Postecoglou, for something that needs to be turned around. Jack Bloom, great to see you. Tartan Spurs, Luke Thompson, San Antonio Hotspur. Hopefully you're keeping well. Jack B. Nimble, Jimmy Hotspur, Curtis Smith. Good to see you, Curtis. I'll be over there for the Crystal Palace game if you're around. Nice to meet up. Luke Thompson, great to see you. Nitro 8 DJ as well. Good to see you, sir. And also Daniel Sandoval as well. Great to see you. And Singularity as well. Morning to you as well. These early morning games, these early morning starts, I absolutely hate them. Do you know, when I was younger and playing sports, I used to be such a morning person. Now I'm not. It's absolutely mad. Anyway, we're going to crack into it. I mean, we'll start with you, Darmo. With the Europa League win providing a rare positive result, how crucial is it for Spurs to follow up with a win against Fulham today? Can this be the start of a much-needed win and run for Postecoglou?
I think it can. I do. I think Thursday could be a great momentum, swinger for us. And, why can it be? I mean, why can we not end the season as we started last season with a 10-game unbeaten run? It'd be very Spursy of us, to be fair, and get to the final of the Europa League and win the damn thing. But yeah, why can't we? We dare to dream, dare to do. That's what we do, and that's what we want. If we can get a good end to the season, that'll give us good momentum going into the summer, getting the right players in the summer, and then kick on from next season. But, it's been one hell of a hard season for all of us, to be fair. But I think a lot of it's been unprecedented with the injuries we've had, the way the players have. There's been a lot of noise. There's been a lot of this. And I think it's just been one of those seasons where you design it to the history books of being a bad season, but hopefully we can kick on. Yeah.
Well, what I will say is there's still a chance to salvage it. That was a big win against Vitesse. The players were, when you're losing 18 games in a season, you sort of start to lose a little bit of belief, in what you're being asked to do. But I do think that Vitesse game, has probably hopefully lifted all of that off them and helped them kick on. You listen to the likes of Madison and Son in their interviews since the game. You listen to Postecoglou's press conference clapping back at his critics. By the way, I want to know what people think of that as well, calling them Mr. Hindsights and labeling the critiques as cheap. So it'll be interesting to see what people think of that. But, there's been a lot of noise around Tottenham, and it does just seem to me that there seems to be a little bit of a clapback from within that squad, and I wonder if they fancy themselves now to turn this around and go on a little run. What I would say, to beat Fulham and then head into the international break, I think it would give people maybe a little bit more renewed hope then coming back off it, heading into that Europa League semi-final and stuff like that. So I think it's a rare opportunity to build up a rare positive this season, and hopefully we can do that. But look,
I mean, just one thing on that, Dave, just one thing about Ange. I like Ange, how he's answering the press at the moment. The way he answered it before the AZ game about winning something in my second seasons. I don't mind my manager being arrogant because he's done it everywhere else. It's a fact. He has won stuff everywhere he's in the second season. So I got no problem with him saying that. A lot of people have. I think it's great we've got a manager that's got a bit of arrogance about him. A little bit of, balls. Do you know what? I have won something. It's a fact. I'm not saying it just to say it. And I think it's great. I like my manager like that. I like my manager with a bit of arrogance, a little bit balls, a little bit of FU sort of mentality. I think it's great. And fair play to him. And if he's fighting, I enjoyed his press conference the other day. I thought that's the Ange of old back. I don't mind that.
I think the real possibility, the reason why he has a real chance to we have a real chance to kick on, especially if we can get the win today, is, you know, a lot of the players seem to still be with him. They seem to still want to play this way. They seem to like Postecoglou still. So very, very interesting. But Donovan, we'll come to you, and then we're going to come all the way back to Drew. But because I have a third question that's sort of tailor-made to Drew, because I know he was on here, you know, pumped up Thursday night saying he's not giving up yet. But Donovan, Postecoglou launched a strong defense of himself in the pre-match press conference, labeling his critics as Mr. Hindsight and describing the criticism as cheap and shallow. Do you think the response was justified, or should he have taken more of a diplomatic approach given the recent pressure he's been under?
Hell, you can only be so diplomatic. Good day, Chad. Good day, everyone. How you doing? Yeah, dear Boyd from Canada here. I'm having a good day. Super early for me. Glad to be up with these lads. And yeah, no, like I mean, I'm the glass half full kind of person. I was raised as a gentleman. You know, I'm a gentleman. I kiss, I don't tell. You know, like I have random women waking up beside me in the morning, but I don't go and make a big deal about it. You know, I'm not gonna go out and like be that guy at the bar yapping and yapping, yapping. And Ange's the same way too. He's not gonna go out there and play sob story in the media. He's not gonna go looking for there's a saying here in North America. I don't know if it's true over there, but he doesn't want a handout. He's not looking for a handout. He's not looking for sympathy, some kind of like easy way out. He's gonna go and win hard. So when he gets a little chance to clap back, when he does get a rare W, where it seems that everything is going against him, and not only the fact that you want to say about the injury crisis or where we are in the league, you talk about him on day one since he was hired. He was no more than Spurs' fourth choice anyway. Right, so some people have already seen him as no more than like Spurs' fourth choice. Australian, it was way over his head. So he was already damned from day one. And so when he finally gets a bit of a chance to take that inch, he's going to take that mile, right? And at least that fighting spirit transcends through the crowd, through the squad. And it's crazy to see. It's good to see and talk about all good stories that come to a good end, where it's comeback stories, you know, talk about all good comeback stories. Well, wow, this is one, hey, from 18th, was it 18th or something crazy, right? 17th, 16th we were. So, yeah, you know, I have no problem with Ange. I have no problem with Ange for the stuff they're saying to him, and it seems like he can't even choose his right tie without James Carragher saying something. So I have nothing to say about it.
No, I just think it'd be interesting to see what people thought. Look, I have no problem with someone clapping back. You know, you're well within your right to do so. But what I would say is, I think he's got to back it up, though. If you're going to come clapping back after one victory, you've got to back it up tonight or today and off the back of the international break. Because if you don't go out and win there today, you can guarantee them exact words, Mr. Hindsight, cheap, shallow, they'll be used to whip back round at him, you know, today, if we don't get that victory over the line. I just think maybe he could have been a little, maybe bit more diplomatic, or could have used the opportunity maybe to get everybody back on side again, or call for more unity around Tottenham. Well, one of the press is maybe one of the big areas where I think Postecoglou's probably let himself down to a degree. I think when you look at Jurgen, I was looking at Jurgen Klopp's documentary on Amazon Prime, you know, and he, even through the tough times, through the injuries, you know, when he first took over and the crowd was walking out and stuff, he sort of used the press to get everybody to buy into what he wanted to do. And I just think with maybe Postecoglou, it's well known that he hates the press. And it doesn't seem like, you know, he's using the press to his advantage, because I do think he could have sat there and maybe called for unity and used it to his advantage and maybe got some buyback in off some people. But I think, you know, coming out with them words, I think is only going to push more and more people away from him. That's just my feeling on it. But look, let's keep it moving. On to you, Drew. I mean, after Tottenham's 3-1 victory over AZ Alkmaar, some Spurs fans are suggesting that this win could mark a turning point in Postecoglou's tenure at Tottenham, believing that he can still turn things around. Postecoglou has consistently stated that the team's struggles this season have largely been due to injuries to key first-team players, and that results would improve once they return. Now, since they've come back, there has been a noticeable improvement. Tottenham have lost just one of their last 5 league games, and that was against Man City, securing 3 wins and 1 draw, which was against Bournemouth, while also progressing to the quarterfinals of the Europa League. Now, this could be seen as evidence that Postecoglou's assessment was correct, Drew. So as the team's form is starting to pick up, and Tottenham, let's not also forget that Tottenham also boast one of the youngest squads in the Premier League, and to a degree that has been evident at times this season as well, Drew. But some would argue again they're maturing come the end of the campaign. Do you think Postecoglou truly has a chance to turn things around, or are people just getting gassed up and carried away off one positive result?
Here's the thing: I think we're entitled to enjoy a win, right? I don't know that. I mean, I'm certainly I'm taking one game at a time. I'm trying not to get too carried away. That being said, I've said the last few weeks that I'm optimistic that as players start to come back, if they can get drip fed back in, and if there's no, reoccurrences of injuries, and they were allowed to, integrate themselves or be integrated back into the team, I thought that there would be there was enough green shoots to tell me that once that started happening, we might actually resemble something that looks like a team. And it's not just the amount of injuries. This is what, people, I think it's the significance of the injuries and who they were to, and the spots. If we'd have not had to deal with a goalkeeper, two defenders and a fullback that had only played 300 minutes of football between them, I think we'd have probably had a bit of a better run. We might have even got past either Liverpool or Aston Villa in the cup. I'm not suggesting we'd have done both, but we were in such a bad spot. And I can remember back to that. I remember people watching the Villa game 3 days after the Liverpool game with the same 14 players and wondering why we weren't putting on a performance. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, it's just asinine to me that people can't see that, but it is what it is. You could tell. And let's get it right. Against RZ, it wasn't free flowing, amazing football. There were moments where I was sitting there and going, "Oh, do you know what? Actually, people actually look like they know where they are on the football field now." But even just having VDV and Romero at the back, just their ability to play the ball out to the touchlines and get either Sonny or Odegaard on the attack quicker than we would normally get them on the attack. Like if you watching the games recently, those balls have not been going to the touchlines. Those balls have been going to the midfielders, who are then trying to play it to the touchline, and everything gets compact and you run out of space because we're not playing quickly enough. And I think even with those two and with Big Vic back in defense, back in the goal, I think you just see them finally looking around and going, all right, I think we can actually do something. And every player that's come off that pitch and had an interview with anybody that resembles something that looks like a journalist has turned around and said that. So I could sit here and say, yeah, he's trash. He hasn't got a clue. But I echo what he said in his press conference. I've been in customer services and sales for 25 years. So I would think that I know a thing or two about customer services and sales, right? And I think he's exactly right. He's been doing this for 27 years. And whether you like it or not, he's gone from what a lot of us perceive to be the bottom to somewhere, I'm not going to say the pinnacle, but somewhere reaching the top. The Premier League is somewhere in the region of the top of the football hemisphere. And he's gone from the bottom to the top. I got to respect it, man. I've got to respect it. And I just, as I say, people think I'm delusional. People think I'm ridiculous. I just see, I see more there to be optimistic about than I see about being negative, especially with the reaction of the players.
Do you know what? I sort of hear what you're saying. I do think there was an opportunity there, and there's been multiple opportunities this season for them players to sort of throw Ange Postecoglou under the bus when this talk around him having to win the next game or he's gone. There was one around Coventry earlier on in the season and this one. But, the players have stood up and, answered the call. It seems like that everybody's still with him in camp, which is different to the likes of Conte and Jose. When they went through their struggles, when they came or they were trying to come out of it, no one was still left with them, really. They were sort of walking on their own. Whereas with Postecoglou, it does seem like everybody is still with him to a degree. And the reality is, after winning against AZ Alkmaar, he's now here until the middle of April. After the middle of April, you've only got 1 month of the season left. So it sort of seems like now, after that win, he's guaranteed himself to be here till at least the middle of April, which always gives them the opportunity to pick up results and try and turn things around. You know, it seems like there's a big collective within the camp to go and win this Europa League, actually. A lot of the words coming out of the players after. And I think you are right. I think, look, with Postecoglou, I think he's done brilliant with the likes of the Bergvals, the Greys, and some of these youngsters that he's had to deal with. But I do think Vicario coming back has made a massive difference. For instance, you know, Kinski against Fulham, or sorry, not against Fulham, against Arsenal, against the likes of Aston Villa, you know, goals that went in, that's his fault, that he should be saving. With Vicario, you know, you've seen it against Bournemouth the other day, even though they had early chances. He pulls off big saves and big moments. He keeps you in game. He gives you a chance of getting points on the board with how good of a goalkeeper he is. I agree with what you're saying about Romero and Van de Ven. I think one thing that's really been missing across that back line is that aggressiveness. You know, you look at the likes of Archie Gray's been absolutely brilliant. Davies has stepped up at times this season. Radu Dragoson's a donkey. Danzo has done well. But what we have missed is that sort of aggressiveness from Christian Romero. You look at it the other night, for instance, you go to the away leg against Vitesse. Troy Parrott ran our back line absolutely ragged. Within the first 10 minutes, Romero clattered him, stood over him like that. You know, and ever since then, you know, Troy Parrott rarely had an effect on the game. We've missed that sort of thing across the back line. And to your point with Van de Ven, just getting on that ball, playing it straight out. And if he can't, he goes on these runs, commits players, you know, and stuff like that. Also, dropping Brennan Johnson, bringing in Odegaard and him coming to the party, unlocking that forward line, which for me has been our biggest problem. Everyone that tunes in knows, you know, for me, goalkeeper, back line, midfield to a degree ain't our biggest problems. That's been our forward line. If you're playing attacking system, you need a team that's going to create chances regularly. And by doing that, it helps pin the opposition back, which then gives them little chance to go up the other end and score. Having someone like Wilson Odegaard down that side with that creativity, that sort of unpredictability, being able to take people on, creates more space for Solanke, more space for Son, more space for your midfielders to run into. I think that's one thing we've badly missed with not having Kulusevski, someone that commits bodies and creates space for others. And I think that opens up then, you know, some of the players like we seen Thursday night in the second half going forward. So
there was also Dave, just that within the first 20 minutes or so, there was another ball that got put through down the left channel. And I'm not sure. I don't think it was Parrott. I think it might have been that cheeky winger they've got. I'm not sure. But anyway, Romero tracked that run, put in an amazing slide tackle, controlled the ball, ran to the touchline, saved the ball from going out, and then played the ball down the wing to Odegaard. And you just think to yourself that, well, that's kind of, I mean, I know it sounds simple, but that sort of thing has been missing. Like this, he's so assured. Even at 60%, when he looks like he's kind of not in it, like when he pulls off things like that, you think to yourself that, I mean, the midfield must just be able to take just a slightly bigger breath of air with those two behind them. Do you know, with the ball goes past, they go, actually, do you know what? They've probably got this covered behind us. Don't worry. You know, they're just more assured.
On that midfield, I think having done, you know, before the game, you know, I know the games, people were on about the midfield being ripped open, and Matisse was up front and barely done any press. And when you do that, you allow teams to pick them passes through you. With Dom Solanke up there Thursday night going on the press, they couldn't play through us because he forced them to go along every single time. So the midfield wasn't as wide open. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, don't get me wrong, I think we have to go on a serious run for, you know, people to maybe give Postecoglou a second chance or for him to really prove people wrong. But at the end of the day, I think he's bought himself time. And I just wonder, that result against Vitesse, could it be one of them that is maybe a little bit of a turning point? We've seen it under Pochettino a couple of years, years ago, when I think Harry Kane took a free kick, deflected off the wall against Aston Villa, went in, saved his job, and then Tottenham never looked back since then. And I just wonder, could that be one of them results where it sort of lifts the depression around Tottenham, gives the players a load of confidence moving forward? But I guess, look, time will tell. You know, I don't want to get too carried away because, you know, we could very easily be sitting here screaming and crying, you know, come half one. But, you know, Dermot, Donovan, I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on what me and Drew has had to say there.
Look, I agree a lot what Drew said, to be fair. I think he makes some very good points. About, and you also about players coming back, and Vicario for me has been a big plus coming back. No disrespect to Kinski. I think he's got potential. But Vicario back there, have we not missed him? With his ball distribution, with the way he commands his area, with the way he's always shouting at the defenders. He just brings authority to that sort of area. And I think you look at the save against AZ on Thursday, the one when Biss got in with the second one. I don't think Kingsley would have saved the first one, to be fair. I think that would have gone in. So you look at that. He stands up straight. He commands his area. Romero, look, I'm not Romero's biggest fan. I think he just only think he does. I think when he put that tweet about thanking the Argentinian medical staff, I think that was a little bit of kick in the teeth.
How's it a kick in the teeth, though, Dermot? Maybe, like, the thing is, everyone blames Ange Postecoglou for the injuries, right? But you look at the you know, you were there with us on the panel Thursday night. Richarlison going outside looking for help. Van de Ven's gone outside a number of times looking for help. Romero's had to go out to Argentina to get help to get back on the pitch. We've had 2 internal reviews in the medical department. Geoff Scott left after 20 years, never replaced him. He's the guy that gives everything that everybody works off. The medical department is in complete disarray. We can't keep, blaming Postecoglou for absolutely everything.
I agree, and I don't blame Postecoglou for that. I just think Romero could have been a bit smarter with his tweet, by the way.
Well, if they don't help them, what do you want them to do? You credit them when they don't help them. You're not going to credit the ice cream man if you bought your ice cream out of the shop, are you?
Yeah, but if I'm playing for a club, I wouldn't go out and make a big thing about it. You do it privately. You thank them privately.
No, I would. Honestly, with how disarray the medical department is in, I think these players are trying to tell us to a certain degree. I've heard of players on a once-off going outside for a real special injury, going and getting treatment, but I've never heard of player after player after player going outside the club to get help.
Well, I've noticed players going outside the club to get help, but you don't see all of them putting it on next, thanking them. How many players have done that and they haven't said a damn word about it?
Are you just guilty of maybe hating Romero and using everything to beat him with?
I just think Romero does put Argentina first before Tottenham, and that's the little bit that gets me a little bit. And I think he should put the club that pays his wages first before he's. And I understand that South American players will put their national teams first. It's natural for them because it's a bigger thing playing for Argentina or Brazil. I get that, but I just think a little bit of think. Do I need to put that tweet? No, I don't think I will. They know I appreciate it. But look, I agree, players coming back, him and Van de Ven. I'm great Van de Ven's back, over the moon, because he brings you that bit of stability in the defence. And I think we're getting there. So, yeah, I sort of agree everything you two said. But
you're a big Ange fan. You've watched Ange for a while before you even came to Tottenham. What's your sort of assessment? Do you think he can kick on from here? Or do you think we're still going to see much of the same between now and the end of the season?
I think he can kick on from here. I do believe so. I do believe he can. I do believe the players have never lost faith in him for some reason. Where they've lost faith with other managers, they haven't with Ange. So I think he can kick on from here. Will he be here next season? That's a whole different question and a whole different ball game. But between now and the end of the season, I think he can. I think he can turn it around. I have this blind faith in Ange from the Celtic, me being a Celtic fan, that he can do it. That is the problem. We've seen a lot of Ange before, Dave, so we know what he can do. He hasn't been backed properly with the players he needs, and he hasn't been backed properly. And then the transfer window. We've all said this. We all know that. So you can't expect a manager to play his system without being backed properly. So that falls on the recruitment team. That falls on Levy. That falls on the people that hold the money. You can't blame Ange for injuries. You can't blame Ange for absolutely everything. It's unfair blaming him for everything.
Well, I don't think it does any good. I mean, when the next manager comes in, if some of them problems are, continue over, like the medical department, what are we going to do? Just sit here and just blame the next manager again? I mean, for absolutely everything. But just quickly before we get Donovan in on this, we got Daniel Harris says, Team Irish checking in from a stag do in Portugal. Well, look, stag do's are always fun. Hopefully you have a great time, my man. We don't want to know what you get up to. We know what happens on stag do's. Just make sure you don't get arrested, my man. Make sure you have plenty of fun. Then we also have Wade coming in here. Wade Bowerman says, bullshit, Irish Hotspur. Give the guy props. IBIS got integrity. Look, let me know what you're crying about in the comments below, and I'll confirm it in the comments. Just let me know. But Donovan, come on in. What you saying? What's your thoughts on the whole conversation there, buddy?
Yeah, no, just well, Spurs medical have always been shit, unfortunately, and that's the way it's been, and that's kind of why Jason Kundi hates us. Apparently we ruined his career. We mismanaged his back career at an early age, and he has scoliosis, and he walks a little bit angled because of Tottenham Hotspur, and that's why he doesn't like us. I don't
Who's
know,
that? Who's that?
Jason Kundi.
Is that for real? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
He come on. I watched a special of on that that Chris Cowlin show. He did a Cowlin special, and he's like the whole time he's like, Jason, why do you hate Spurs? Jason's like, I never said I hated Spurs. I never said you know how he is. He's like, I never said I hated Spurs. I've never said I hated Spurs. And at the end, he comes out and he says, "Yeah, this is why I hate Tottenham." And the medical department was really rough back then. And it wasn't even just like with him; it was just how they approached the situation. It was at the end of the day, it was like the manager said, and the manager puts his feet up on the desk and picks a starting 11 at the end, and they have to make it work. But nowadays, we have this medical team who, I don't know what they do. They mismanage injury. I don't know if they've dealt with this level of athlete before. Maybe they've got their standard training. I could not profess to know anything better medically, but yeah, it just seems that there's a common denominator that's been there for decades at this club. So,
what do you think of Ange potentially kicking on though? Do you think that's a possibility now after that sort of win? Because I have seen some reports, and some fans maybe say that they feel like that could be a turning point for Ange, at Tottenham. I think, look, it's a bit of a stretch to say after beating Vitesse, I think we should be beating them anyway. But what's your thoughts?
Well, maybe I've been listening to the bloke, to the geezer too much, and now it's like I don't want to use these terms like turning point. Like I don't want to. Why should this game? You know what I mean? It's like I feel like the games that we've lost, I feel like we've been thereabout. I don't think like I echo back what Drew said about like 15 minutes ago when he comes in and he says the lads that absolutely gas themselves against Liverpool are expected to come out the next game and put in a result when it's like you can't rotate the squad. Like we were being drugged through the desert there for 40 days. Like we just got back from the desert for 40 days and we are feasting now. And that's the reality of the situation. So I think Ange Postecoglou, I'll say this. He hasn't played himself and he hasn't had a turning point, but it's been the situation has come to the point where he's played himself into like, unfortunately, mate, you've come to the end of the rope. It's result based now. It's like what happens in the cup. What happens in the cup is going to be huge. He's going to be given the cup, and so we'll see what happens against Frankfurt. We're speaking of which, lads, I don't what the group thinks here. What our chances are against Frankfurt. I think it's going to be a totally different game than it was against AZ.
Yeah, look, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a difficult game. It's going to be a much bigger step up than AZ. I don't think they're going to sit back against us. I think they'll fancy their chances. I think it's going to be a difficult game. But again, comes down to test the character. I think we've got the home game first. If we can, turn up on that game, don't have nerves and build up, a bit of lead heading away, I think it gives us a chance. I think if you don't do your job at home, then I think it becomes a very tricky assignment away from home. Look, for me, it's all about keeping a clean sheet in the home game and nicking, at least 2 goals if you can. And then I would fancy us to sort of get through, because the reason why I'm a bit nervous about having the away game and the reason why I think we need to do it at home is because some of the away results we've suffered in Europe since Pochettino has absolutely driven me insane. And to be honest with you, makes me doubt Tottenham going away from home in Europe. If you can lose to Paços de Ferreira, who are a nobody in Portugal, if you can lose to, an NS Moura, who are nobody in European football context, if you can lose to Zagreb and their manager's in prison, we probably cut off the Wi-Fi so we couldn't even get his tactics out and everything. We still couldn't beat them, and then, the Dutch side, Vitesse Arnhem as well. We are capable. And Vitesse recently, we're going away from home in Europe. We buckle under the pressure. So for me in that Frankfurt game, it's all about doing your job at home. But I don't know if Drew or Derma have anything to say on that. No? Okay, we'll move on.
No, I think you said everything eloquently, dude. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I totally agree with you, Drew, with everything you've just said.
Well, look, let's keep kicking on. So we'll come back up to you, Drew. Who did I go to first? No. I'll just come back to you, Joe.
right.
Spurs have lost their last 5 Premier League matches immediately before an international break, including a 3-0 loss to Fulham last March. And when asked by reporters about potential changes in this starting 11 for the Fulham game tonight, Postecoglou said, yeah, I think so. I think we need to. We saw how difficult it is to back up Sunday and Thursday. Thursday isn't too bad, but Thursday to Sunday is a huge challenge. So with a healthier squad, it's a good opportunity to make some changes. So do you think Postecoglou should rotate his squad for the Fulham game, or should he stick with the strongest 11 to maintain momentum in the Premier League? Because, you've seen against the Man City game, he made changes. We ended up dropping points there. Fans weren't too happy. And then we lost to Vitesse, the Thursday night, 8 days later. So, how many changes are we looking at, do you think?
I mean, I would expect maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4, an absolute push. I don't expect VDV to start. I'd kind of be surprised. I've got a feeling we're probably wrapping him in cotton wool. I think given that Bentancur has missed he missed RZ. So I feel like he could probably come back in. And I could see Odeberg just getting a rest, because hasn't he started the last 2? I think maybe. So I can see a couple changes. Here's the thing, right? This is why he's in such a position, right? Because if he tries to go with his strongest and the strongest don't quite work out and he has to make changes and we scrape through a draw, people will go, oh, he should have rotated because, they'd be fresher. So if he now rotates and we don't get a result, it will be, oh, well, he should have gone with his strongest. What's he thinking? Da, 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 da. And it's just, this dude can't, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. So I personally would like to see. Do you know what? No, I've scratched that. I believe with the players coming back, and if we were at full strength, I think we are good enough and strong enough to cope on 2 fronts. We were expected to cope on 4 fronts at the beginning of the season. So this should be with people coming back, this should be a cakewalk now, right? I don't. Here's the thing: if we start to get reoccurrences of injuries, it's over. If he loses the dressing room and the team decide that they don't want to play, then we will lose games and it will be over, because the way that we play, everyone's got to be on it. Otherwise, you see how much we fucking capitulate. So I just think I don't want to be thinking, oh, we'll just, make changes and just get by in this game and be fresh for Frankfurt. I think we should be able to start rotating. And I think you've seen over the last couple of games, we should be able to start just managing this squad, right? Barring any horrible, unforeseen circumstances, giving Mickey van der Ven 60 minutes and then, maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, getting a couple of goals up today, maybe giving him the last 20 minutes, even if it's necessary, or just keeping him there and just leave, we should be able to do this. And I just want to make a point, like there are, is there like 30 points, 27 points left to play for in the league? I am fed up with people saying, sack off the league and just go for the European Cup. Because in my mind, if you do that, let's just say we do get to the semi-final. If you've sacked off the league and you're now 12 points worse off again than you were, and then you go out in the semi-finals, then it's absolutely nothing to play for. I just think if we can get something resembling some form together. I said a few weeks ago, I think it was actually before the Man City game where we lost, that I thought we could go unbeaten for the remainder of the season. But now, in hindsight, I genuinely believe we could go unbeaten for the rest of the season. We could. Probably won't happen, but we could.
We've got Chelsea away coming up after the international break. We never win.
They are terrible at the moment. We need to serve them up one. So honestly, I've got no problem. Stamford Bridge, I got no problem with it.
No, look, there's no doubt we need to go on a good run. That's for sure. Look, I can understand, though, Drew. People that are saying, look, I have lost interest in the Premier League because we're not going to make European football. I know there's a lot of points to play for, but the chances are you need a lot of them teams to lose at least 5 of their next 10 games, and I don't see that happening. So I can understand why people have given up on the league and they're throwing all their eggs in one basket. But I don't think the team are up Postecoglou should. I think they've got a point to prove, to people that, with the players coming back, that results will, they can beat these teams in the Premier League. I think they've got a massive point to prove. So from a fan's perspective, I understand it to a certain degree, but inside the camp, that better not be the case. In terms of squad rotation, look, for me, I understand what he means. I think we've lost 5. What was the start I read out? Did I say 5?
Did we have?
Yeah,
We got Liverpool and Chelsea away.
Yeah.
Still to come.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
still to come, and then we've got
we can still draws away.
There you go.
There you go. Draws away, wins at home. Let's go, boys. It's on.
But no, look, in terms of rotation today, I think Postecoglou is right to rotate to a certain degree, just to freshen that lineup a little heading into today's game, because you can't keep putting out the same lineup and, suffering these defeats, heading into the international break. Right. So for me, I think you're going to see a couple. It's just to what extent. What I don't want to see is, 5, 6, 7 changes. I don't want to see Son drop to the bench. I don't want to see Maddison drop to the bench. I can understand a Mickey van der Ven, trying to manage his minutes. I can understand if you want to bring an Udogie back in and rest one of Porro or Spence. I can understand Bergvall, with him coming off with cramp the other night. I can understand Papa Matasar, he's going through Ramadan. You can't eat, the pre-match meals heading into games, which does affect your performance and stuff.
Well, let me ask you this, Dave. Would you take Sonny on the bench if it meant Odegaard on the left and giving Tell a shot on the right, or vice versa? No.
I'll tell you why. Matisse Tell last week, there was a report from Alistair Gold from Football London, just before the Vitesse game, reporting on training. And apparently Matisse Tell was just, dicking about. He wasn't doing anything at any real intensity and stuff like that. And then when I pair it with some of the performances I've seen up front, now don't get me wrong, in terms of the ball coming into him, I'm not going to moan too much because Solanke doesn't see a lot of ball. But one thing Solanke does is he works his bollocks off on the press. Matisse Tell was doing that half-hearted. And when I pair what I read from training and what I've seen on the pitch, I question his love for the game at Tottenham Hotspur. I just feel like maybe we are being used
to put him in the
shop market to a certain degree to get out there and get some minutes into him and stuff like that, rather than him actually being committed to what we're doing. I don't think he sees Tottenham as the long-term look. I could be proven wrong. But also, I would argue, what has Matisse Tell done that Mikey Moore hasn't done this season?
Fair.
I think Mikey Moore has contributed a lot more when we've played him than what someone like Matisse Tell has. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Matisse Tell is a striker. But if we're calling for another winger to get minutes, I'm calling for Mikey Moore. And this is something I've always said. Like, the thing is, we brought Matisse Tell in to kick on our season. We were screaming out for a striker to come in and score us goals so we could get to the final of the Carabao Cup, but, get to the next round of the FA Cup, help our concerns in Europe, and help kick us on in the Premier League. Bringing in Matisse Tell was never, ever going to do that. We were wrong to bring him in as our striker and put that burden on him. However, we've only got him in on loan. Potentially, we're talking about paying 65 million for the guy. But I'm not being funny. Why aren't we looking at our own players? Spend that 65 million on someone proven to come in here and help kick this team on. Help show Archie Gray and Bergvall the levels you need to be at every single week and the levels you need to get to be at to drag yourself to the very top of the game. Get someone in like that. We're bringing in Matisse Tell. We're developing him for someone else. When we've got Mikey Moore sitting there and recently played for the under-21s the other night, by the way, scored a great goal. But he shouldn't be there. He should be with us. And this is my whole point about bringing in these youngsters. We're bringing them in and saying to our youngsters, well, you're going to have to pay the price. You're not going to get any minutes. You're going out on loan, this, that, and the other. And my whole point has been, some of our youngsters are better than some of the guys that we're bringing into this football club. Do we give them another chance? So for me, I don't want to see Tell in the lineup. I don't think he's earned it.
Fair enough. Do we know, did Moore play the whole game? Because my understanding was the reason we haven't seen him recently, and this wasn't reported widely, but for some reason it was on X, and it was Spurs ITK that had somehow met up, I don't know, he was somewhere with a bunch of the under-21s or something, and he had a picture taken with Mikey Moore. And he said the reason we hadn't seen Mikey Moore recently is because Mikey Moore was dealing with a bit of a knock. So I was just wondering how much of that game he actually played. And it would kind of stand to reason as to why we haven't seen him, because I was a little concerned. Like, he all of a sudden you know, he scored that goal and then put his goal up on YouTube or whatever it was, or X or Instagram, and then all of a sudden he took it down, and then all of a sudden we didn't see him, and then there's rumours that there's a falling out, and he's upset, and so but you just don't know nowadays what's true and what isn't. But yeah, my understanding was that he'd been dealing with a knock, so it's just good to see him back.
Imagine when they got rid of David Pleat from the club altogether to stop all these rumours coming out, and they're still coming out left, right, and centre. Absolutely madness. Absolutely madness. But look, I suppose let's get into some lineup talk. I mean, guys, I want to sit here and talk about Vicario for a minute because, you know, the leadership he displayed Thursday night, I think, has really gone under the radar. You know, that final 10 minutes of the game, you know, coming out, claiming crosses, alleviating the pressure on that back line, especially with young Archie Gray coming in there. You know, at times you see the team just setting up to go through the same pattern, same routines from the goal kick. Vicario is the only one that says, no, push up the field. We don't need to take this risk. Go long, put it into their half, keep them pinned back, put them under pressure. And that in-game management is something that we have missed all season long. You know, I do see Postecoglou getting blamed for a lot of the decision-makings by some of these players out on the pitch. But one thing I've always maintained, once you're over that white line, them split-second decisions in possession, whether you go and track a man, this, that, and the other, that's all on them players. And I think, you know, with Vicario, he's the only one that I've seen that has shown a bit of bollocks and said, no, guys, we're going to do something different. We're going to see out this result, get up the field. And for me, that looks like a captain to me. Someone that can, you know, there's a recognition that we've got a young squad. Everyone's just going to do exactly what they're told to a large degree. But at some point, you know, you need players on the pitch to step up. And for me, that's something that Son should be doing, Maddison should be doing, but they're not taking them decisions. Vicario did. And I just wonder, with how it's panned out with Son being captain, because look, let's be fair. I know a lot of Spurs fans are moaning about it now, but when I was sitting here that you're saying we should keep Harry Kane, most people told me, make him captain. He's going to take this club forward, everything else, etc. In hindsight now, it hasn't worked out. And I hear some of them people moaning about that decision, putting it on Postecoglou. But it's like, you wanted it, so don't you dare blame someone else for that decision. But what I'm trying to get at is, should we be looking at changing captaincy come this summer and maybe look to put it in someone like Vicario's hands? Now, I'm not a big fan of Goalkeeper being captain, but right now, he is the only one that I actually see show that little bit of ability on the pitch within the games. And that's where I think your captain really steps up, making them decisions in-game. Donovan, we'll go to you.
Do we bring in outside leadership? And we make the same mistake we did with James Maddison, where we give the captainship too soon and we realize he's more of a liability than an insurance. Yeah, but he still brings stuff to the table. Yeah, maybe Tottenham Hotspur is that fallacy where it's like we are the club that has the captain, the goalkeeper captain. We are like we're the best of the rest. We are just that alternative club, that little bit of weird in the club that everybody hates anyway. You know, like we're Tottenham Hotspur, so we have the goalie captain. I don't know. Strong. I think as a club, we were kind of as fans anyway. We were guilty of putting Kinski too high on a pedestal right away because we were used to sub-average, like Forrester, ancient goalkeeper with the feet and at the feet. He was not able to play at the feet at all. And when Kinski comes in and he can actually ping a pass 10 feet, suddenly it looks like we covered fire. And it's like we're all just, you know, wow, look at this amazing goalkeeper. And don't get me wrong, Kinski's an okay goalie for his age. You can't beat him with a stick like for what he is, he's a good academy prospect that's already played Champions League level football. Right, he's got a couple minutes of Champions League football under his belt for a young keeper. He's playing internationally. He's there, so he's a good one for the future. But we can't hang our hat on him. And some of those goals, man, like it was really soft to see those goals, like in the Aston Villa goal, just go right through him. So Vicario just shows the levels of difference in the game, and I'm just happy to have Vicario back. And allows us to rotate a bit more too, like you said, like the midfield and defense. It's like, how do you think the midfield feels when you have Romero and Van de Ven behind him? Well, how do you think the whole team feels now that they have Vicario back in there? You know? And we kind of missed our mad lad. And I was actually kind of like decisively thinking about Vicario. I'm like, what do I think about him? Like, I wasn't too sure if I liked how he was yelling and just how he is as a person. But no, we really lack that. We lack that personality, that leadership, and really what we lacked was a character. Like we needed a character. And that's who we need to bring in for our captain. That's someone we need to go into the transfer market, and we need to allocate funds to go in. And I really thought, like, if he had the right attitude, Pierre could have worked out. Pierre could have been there. Maybe lack of technical ability. Gallagher could have been that option. Maybe we have no idea. Joshua Kimmich could have been that. There's names and there's characters out there. Just if Daniel Levy's gonna loosen the purse strings or not, and then. But over to you, Darbo. No, for me, man, Vicario is just on his day. It just is amazing. He's just Hugo-like Lloris reflexes, and he's started to add corners into his game now. He's starting to become a bit better in the air. He's starting to become a bit more like you got that joke on the wall at work where it's like, this workplace accident has been free since like 900 some odd days, with the number flip over. It's like we've been there's some days since Vicario's dropped a blunder, right? So like he's starting to flip the narrative around, right? So I think he's good, and for the time being now, until Romero like obviously does something crazy, or Sonny or Madison, yeah, let's add him to that leadership group.
No, look, I definitely think, I think he's in the leadership group now, isn't he? I think Postecoglou put me in there a while back, but for me, I definitely would consider him as a potential captain, with some of them decisions I've seen late Thursday night. Dermo, we'll let you have your say, and then we'll come to Drew, who's shaking his head.
I just think that, sorry, I'm just going to, real quick, I think the leadership group's bollocks. Carry on, Dermo.
I think the leadership group is bollocks as well. I think it's the worst leadership group we've ever picked. You got Madison that couldn't give you any motivation, even if you went into a brothel. You got Sonny that stays very quiet and just doesn't say anything. He wouldn't motivate me. Vicario would motivate me because he scares the shit out of me, because he looks like the type of keeper go up and chin you one if you made a mistake. That's what you want from your captain. You want your captain to be positive and bollock you if you do something wrong. But the point, I don't think you can be a captain without wearing the armband. And I think that's the problem. I go back to the 80s. I go back to the team that I grew up with the Perrimans and the Roberts and the Paul Millers and the Ozzy Ardiles and players like that. They were all captains. Every one of them was a captain without the armband. If you did something wrong, Graham Roberts would turn around and bollock you. If you did something, Steve Perriman would turn around and bollock you. You have to have captains on the pitch that don't wear the armband, and we don't have that. Everyone's too nice to one another. Everyone is too nice. It's too chummy. I'm sorry. You're on that pitch. You're going to war. You're a war against the opposition to win. You're winning for 3 points or getting through the next competition. And you have to, I think we've got too many nice people. I think Jose Mourinho hit the nail in the head, says we have to be, you know what I mean? And we're not, and we're still too nice. James Madison doesn't inspire me as captain. Sonny doesn't even inspire me as captain. Dave, I was one that said at the time, I wanted Romero as captain. And I thought that might, but he didn't inspire me, deny he was captain as well. Vicario probably does. I hate goalkeeping captains.
So do I, Darmo, but it's a need must right now. You're talking about like them decisions on the pitch the other night, at the end. Everyone else was ready to just go through the same motions, play out from the back and take that risk. He said, no, it's 88 minutes, go long, pump it up in there a half. That's been missing for large parts of this season.
Yeah, it has.
He's the only one that has stepped up and shown that ability. I agree with you. I wasn't a fan of Hugo Lloris being club captain whatsoever. No. But right now, within looking at what we've got on the pitch, it's a needs must. He's the only one that can sit there and make these decisions while everything else is chaos around them.
I tell you, another one that could be a future captain is Bergville. I think he's got the mentality. I think he's got it in his locker to be a good captain. I do believe that, because I think he's got a bit of Graham Roberts and a bit of Hoddle in him. There's a mixture in that lad. He really is going to be a great footballer, Bergville. But the leadership group we have, Ange needs to go into that dressing room. I know he likes leaving the dressing room to the players, and go in there, take that dressing room by the scruff of the neck, take command of it. I'm the manager. Buck up your ideas and fight for one another. Half these players wouldn't fight. They're not fighting for one another. I go back to the 90s. Even I go back to the 80s as a kid. And I keep using that as my benchmark. that every one of them players fought for each other. That is why we were successful in the early 80s. Every one of them went to war with one another. They backed each other up. If Ozzy Ardiles got tackled, you were damn sure Graham Roberts was coming in there with a belt in himself. You guarantee if one of them started on one of them started on Mickey Hazard or one of them players, you guarantee you would have 4 players round that other player, backing that player up. He's my brother. He's my brother in arms on this pitch. I'm backing him 100%. We weren't nice back then. We were, if I can swear, sorry, Dave, I do apologize.
I swear
we were bastards back then. And I grew up with that. I grew up with the players backing each other up. We're too nice at the moment, and we need to change. We need to get rid of that mentality.
The reason why I say, mainly as well as Vicario is, like, look, everybody, everyone within a team dynamic is different, right? You've got some guys who are just shy, who just, for whatever reason in rooms just don't come out of themselves. They don't want to be loud. They want to just sort of be left alone, come in, do their job, whatever. You've got other guys who lead by example or are role models, the likes of your son, the way he lives his life, etc., etc. But one big, important, major factor on the football pitch is communication. Communication. Son on the football pitch doesn't communicate to other people. For me, Vicario is the only one I see throwing that communication out there, bollocking people, holding people account, telling them what to do. Vicario is the only one. And that's one thing that we have missed on the pitch, large points this season, is that lack of communication. The sooner someone fucks up, you never, ever see anyone turn around to them and hold them account. Give them a dead stare. Roy Keane sometimes, all he had to do was just stare at them. They automatically, players knew, and if they didn't, communication, whether that's bollocking them, putting them arm around the shoulder, a good captain knows what individuals need. And that is the biggest thing we lack on the football pitch. Half of the goals we've conceded this season from crosses, simple communication. Someone across the back line just taking responsibility for other people around them. That's what a captain does. A captain can sit there, not only worry about his own games, but pull people into position, push people on, take care of other people's games. And at Tottenham, I don't see that. I see a lot of individuals taking care of themselves, but I don't see one person taking care of it a lot. And for me, the only one that I think right now has that is Vicario, in my opinion. Drew, anything you want to say before we kick on?
I mean, I don't pay too much attention to other teams. So I don't really know how other teams are structured in terms of if everybody's got captains, vice captains, sub-captains, junior captains. But I feel like the fact that you have to have so many layers kind of says a lot anyway. Like, I don't think we've really got anybody. I mean, I think by the fact that we've all sat here and there's multiple names in the chat, I don't think we have really got a captain. Like, Vicario is probably the best of the lot. Romero doesn't speak English. Maddison's too much of a child. The reason that Sonny got it is because arguably he's the kind of elder statesman, right? Everybody else is sort of a bit too wet behind the ears to be Tottenham captain. So I don't know. I think, to Dermot's point, I don't think you should have to wear an armband to be a captain. Like, everybody out there should be able to tell everybody else what everybody else is supposed to be doing. Like, it's a unit. Like, I don't see why there's not more, because I don't know. Obviously, you can't see it sometimes necessarily on the TV, but I'm amazed that there isn't more talking between players and more pointing and more, you should be there, you should be over there.
Well, do that, Drew, just quickly. You've got Camping Car Joa says, old school mentality from this panel. That's from a generation 3 times older than most of our players. Surely communication is one that travels through all ages, right?
I mean, you would think so, but I mean, I guess not. I guess it's all just got to be fucking telepathic, and everything's all shapes now, so everybody should know their exact position. So you shouldn't have to say anything to anybody. You should just robotically play the ball to somebody who should be there. I mean, I can understand, for me, I mean, I love it, Dermo, but to me, going back to those sorts of times, I mean, I just think the world's a different place now, let alone football. Yeah. So although I understand the nostalgia, well,
it's not nostalgia. It's just a point I'm making. That it's a point I'm making. I get a lot of shit for me using my going through the generation I went through as a barometer. All right,
No, but
as I want to see. Hang
I
on.
guess from what I'm doing, let me just clarify what I mean, right? Because you're saying that everybody back then used to fight for the badge, and they all used to fight for each other, and everybody used to fight, and it was all a fight. And the problem that I have with that is that back in the day, the players that you're referring to were earning
Yeah,
a living that was nothing close to what they're earning now, and
Yeah.
therefore this whole
even
fighting
if you're
for
not
each
playing, you're
other.
still getting 100
Well,
grand a week sometimes.
Well,
You know.
yeah, like so. The reason they were
I agree.
fighting, I think personally, the reason they were potentially fighting so hard and making such a deal of it, and this, that, and the other, is because at the end of the season, if you won something, chances are you were going to get a nice, healthy bonus, or you were going to move to a good club, or you were going to get, there was a chance that you were actually really going to make a difference in your life. Nowadays, people can turn up, sit on a bench for 90 minutes, come on for the last 2 minutes, and still pick up 70 grand a week. So from that point of view, I just don't think you are going to get that element of fighting for each other and fighting for the badge anymore. So in that sense, I just think it's different times. That's all. That was just my point.
I'm gonna sort of look. I don't look. I use it as a barometer of what I want to see my players do for my football club. I lived through them eras. I remember as a kid watching Steve Perman. He didn't care if you got £100 a week or £200 a week. He lost teeth during the cup final. The doctor said to him, "You can't go out and play the second half." He went out and played with 2 broken front teeth.
That's different, 100%. Nowadays, they have fucking red zones. They're pulling people out of middle of the training sessions.
You look at Steve Perman. Yeah, you look at. I use Graham Roberts. You look at Robbie Keane. You look at players in the 90s. You look at players in the early 2000s that were proud to wear that shirt. Players today are not proud to wear the shirt because A, you're right, there's too much money in the game. I will agree with you there. And B, they're too pussy. They don't care. I want my players to want to wear that shirt and wear it with pride and break a neck trying to defend that club. We are paying their wages. Us, the fans, are paying their wages. We put money into the club to keep that club. I know clubs get a lot of money outsourced now, but we are the fans. I want them to pull on that shirt and put a performance.
But to Drew's point, though, Dermo, them days are gone. You're not, a lot of Dermo, they are. A lot of your era, a lot of players, likes of, Mickey Hazard and all, and some of the other players we've had, a lot of them were local boys. A lot of them, had to earn their money and stuff like that. Nowadays, you get paid 250 grand a week. It doesn't matter whether you play or not. It really doesn't matter. And the reality is, when you've got that sort of money coming in and you've got the whole world open to you, players ain't coming here that love this football club. Players are coming here with ulterior motives. Some use Tottenham as a stepping stone to get to the likes of Real Madrid and stuff like that. The days of players being committed to your club are gone. The only way that happens now is if you bring through your own academy players who are fans of the club.
So you say the players that play for Liverpool now, they're there for a stepping stone. They die for that shirt. You look at some of the other clubs in the Premier League. Players would die for that shirt. Just because we've got this soft mentality at Tottenham now that we're being used as a stepping stone. I agree. But you cannot build, you have to build off your past. You have to build off what's gone behind you. To move forward, you use that as a barometer. You telling me that any Liverpool manager doesn't go back, look what Klopp did. Look what Klopp did at Liverpool. Look what this club stands for. That's what the club stands for. History. The Liverpool stands for what they've done in the past. They've built on what they've done in the past. Tottenham don't care about the history. They don't build on what we've done in the past.
I
they
feel
just
like
build on what they've done now. And also, I get it's a different time. I get it's a different decade, different players. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing back then or now. It's about winning games for that club. It's playing with pride with that shirt and winning trophies. That's never changed. The only thing that's changed that players at Tottenham become too soft, don't care about the club, all they care about is getting 150 grand a week, whatever. And when you look at players at Liverpool, Manchester United, Man City that are winning stuff, winning trophies, they're
Man
proud
United. What are they winning?
Man United.
Man United were winning stuff, but Man City, I meant, sorry. You look at them Liverpool players. They're proud to wear that shirt. They're proud to represent their
the ones that have been there for 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Right.
Yeah, but
not
again,
the players not new players that they signed.
You not think Sonny's proud to wear that shirt?
I think he, but
You don't
I
think
want to see
Kane was
my
proud to wear
captain.
that shirt?
I want to see my captain show a bit of passion, a little bit of, a little bit of, a little bit of go out there and pump the chest. You should. They don't earn that. They're only being loaned that shirt. They have to earn to wear it. And I'd die on that hill. I really will die on
No,
that
look,
hill.
I
And I'd die
understand
on
what you're saying, but for me, I do think football is different. You don't really have, unless a player is a fan of that club and they're signing for that club. A lot of other players, come for different reasons altogether, and it's not necessarily because they love Tottenham Hotspur. I do think them times have changed massively, and it is a time now where you have to try and buy motivated individuals, really, people that self-motivate themselves, because if you don't naturally have that love for the club, you can't just go in there and say, guys, go out there, play for the fans, play for the club, this, that, and the other. You have to change your team talks to get these players up for whatever reason. It is changed a little. I do agree with that. We've got a couple of chats here, though. Let's get to them, and then we will kick on. Fazrafar41 Spurs says, key to win today is to eliminate individual errors. Absolutely spot on. And look, that's been one thing that has sort of been our biggest kick in the stones this season, is a lot of the individual errors. Look, as good as Bergval's been, it was his fault the other night for that goal that made it a nervy end. It was him that scored the own goal out in Vitesse Arnhem. He did give away a ball earlier on in the season against Newcastle, which changed the course of that game. Kinski's come in goals and he's made a few errors and stuff like that. So as good as some of these youngsters have been, at times they have been a bit of a double-edged sword. But again, that's where you need the experienced players to sort of step up to a large degree and, put a shoulder around these guys or give them a bit of advice and maybe help them learn to a large degree. But look, you're dead right. It's all about eliminating silly individual errors today. Against Bournemouth, how many times, not only Romero I can sort of pass to a certain degree because he's only back. But Pedro Porro from right back, hitting the ball across your own goal. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's something you're taught when that's something your dad tells you, when you're playing with him in the backyard, let alone any coach, any manager, or anything like that. Some of the shit I'm seeing from individuals is driving me absolutely crazy. And we do have to cut them out. For instance, I go back to the Liverpool game. Basuma's undercooked pass to Papa Matsar. They turned it over, scored, and Liverpool gained confidence and went on and rioted us after that. Individual errors are huge in this team at the minute, and they do need to be cut out. You're absolutely spot on. Now, we've got Paul Markey in the house as well. Says, how good were we going forward on Thursday without the lazy football, senseless donkey Johnson? Hopefully the rumour is true. Back to Forest for him. I just looked at Drew's face as I was reading that one, and it looked like it hit him in the chest there. He's quit now, Paul Markey, off the back of that one. Look, what I will say is, Johnson was getting
cut me real deep, boys. Cut me real deep.
It seemed like that. What I will say is, look, a lot of people who have backed up Johnson is, praised the ability to come in at the back post at the right time and put them goals away, which, look, to a degree, you can't not, it is something that you have to learn and practice and that, so you could technically put it down to a skill. But, people like my points all along was the overall contribution. If you're just allowing him to come off that side and just come in on the right-hand side and tap home everybody's good work, all you're doing is making the opposition's job easier, because all they have to do is block up certain areas of the pitch, knowing that Johnson ain't going to create off that side, and it makes you easier to defend against. But bringing in someone like Wilson Odegaard, who demonstrated that ability Thursday night, but also demonstrate that he can get on the ball, take 4 or 5 players out, lay it off, get crosses in and stuff like that, brings a lot more to his overall game, brings a different dynamic to his attack, because then all of a sudden they have to stretch right across, worry about the middle, the left, and the right-hand side, which in effect creates more space for people in the middle to play, and Sonny out on that left-hand side, which means you're also not over-reliant on Son, which means it's very hard for them to get across and double up on them all the time. So I think that's the massive benefit of having someone like Wilson Odegaard come in. Now, although Johnson has 14 goals this season, and the majority of them running in, tapping in, he's only got 3 assists. I think Timo Werner has a similar amount, which shows how bad he's been in that department and what he contributes overall. And I would also add, Porro didn't get anywhere near as exposed as he has done in recent weeks, or when Brennan Johnson plays on that right-hand side as well. And I think a large part of that is because Odegaard is willing to work, he is willing to press, and he is willing to track his runners back, which I think helps Pedro Porro. One thing I've been mad about Brennan Johnson is he is a bit lazy on the football pitch. And even when he came on the other night, He's jogging around. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, Odegaard's after scoring 2, taking on about 10 players this evening, and you're coming on jogging. And if that's going to be your attitude, I'll be honest, sell him back to Forest. I don't think we should have ever signed him in the first place. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough to really kick on. I don't think he has the ability to get on the ball, skin players, put consistent crosses in the box, slide people in. I think there's so much sort of lacking and missing to his game. Some would argue, keep him around, he'd be a good squad player. You know, it's a useful asset having coming off the bench maybe. But look, what I am glad is that Wilson Odegaard has put this guy under serious pressure. He's basically laid it back on his door. Right, over to you. Can you improve your game? What else can you bring to your game? Because if not, you're going to be named as Brennan Bench Boy, and I'm going to be Wilson the hero. And that's the way it's going to continue if Wilson keeps playing that way. But you know what? We'll come to you, Drew, because it did look like you had a bit of a dagger in your heart.
I just swap deal. Callum Hudson-Odoi.
There's no way they're going to give us Callum Hudson-Odoi and take Brennan Johnson.
I think the only thing I'll say on Johnson is I do feel like I've been fairly critical of him. I was cutting him slack at the beginning, and I said, but I do feel like I've been very, very balanced with him, and I've always said for the longest time that the dude has got like his assisting, and his final ball leaves a lot to be desired, and that's only been heightened by the fact that Odegaard has come on, and after 3 or 4 games, he's absolutely, just going at players. I mean, I would, if I were Johnson, I'd be a little bit nervous that I'm already losing my place. I'll be lucky to get 10, 15 minutes, to be honest with you, most games, if it carries on like this, No,
100%. And I just think, look, I think if obviously Wilson Odegaard has to keep sort of performing to these level of performances and stuff, but it'd be interesting to see how Brennan Johnson reacts, because he has been surviving off, finishing off everybody else's good work. He hasn't really actually contributed too much outside of that. And, I do think there's a massive thing. I've always said Brennan Johnson and Pedro Porro down that right-hand side do not work together, whether you got to change the right back or whether you got to change, your winger. But if Porro is contributing more than Brennan Johnson going forward, it's always going to be him that's going to be looked to be taken out of this team. So, it is down to him to really produce a lot more. I mean, does anyone else want to come in on this point about, Brennan Johnson? I know, Dermot, you've claimed to be a big Brennan Johnson fanboy, this season as well. Anything you want to say? And Donovan, I don't know where you stand on Brennan Johnson either.
Well, it's not even just Brennan Johnson. It's like Ange Ball in general. Like, look back to what James Madison said about it in the early days. It's we have so much of the ball and so much of our ball. I like it personally. It's like when we have a ball in an attacking situation where we can stand up our defender. Like we rely on so many 1v1 scenarios where the players are presented with 1v1s where they can calmly take a nice touch, look good for the camera, kill the ball, kill all spin on the ball, and then they're presented with a 1v1 situation. And then that cycle all around the pitch until somebody either beats their man, and then and it's really frustrating because there's a couple of games where I look back, like that Liverpool game where Matip roofs it in his own net and saves us, right?
How good though, Donovan, was it to see someone like Wilson Odegaard just pick up that ball, run at players, take them out of the game, rather than, like you said, constantly recycling that ball around, which becomes boring to watch, repetitive, and quite frankly, it's what the opposition have set up to try and make you do all week. You're just playing into their game plan.
Exactly. How many times I've been on the other end of that game plan where it's been like, okay, just shift your hips 45 degrees, drop 10 yards, or drop 5 yards, and then, shuffle them, and then you're done. It's the easiest game of football. Any good defensive player, anyone who's been coached through that knows that, like, hey, those are the games of football that are easier. What's hard is those players who can twine you, take you to the left, take you to the right. You don't know which one he's going to go, and then once he's got you on toast, and a good player will expose that, and a good player will will go at you. So what I was going to say to that situation for Brennan Johnson is that he's not that player. He's not that 1v1 specialist who can take you on, who can twine, who has the technical ability to take 2 or 3 quick touches. Right? He's not sleight of hand. He's not fleet of foot. But he is a poacher, and he's got elite pace. That people argue that it's different. It's more of like a fox in the box, comes alive in the final third. So yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what Odegaard has to say. That's a good point, Dave. Way to deflect that because, 2 goals, and not just 2 goals, 2 goals in a European knockout competition. So, yeah.
No, and you know what? The one that really impressed me was he picked up the ball sort of middle to right hand side, took like 5 players out, and then lays it off the side. And look at the space someone's in by him doing that. You know, absolutely unbelievable from Wilson Odegaard. Hopefully, we see more coming forward. I mean, Dermo, we'll let you have your say as well because you like I said, you know, you have claimed to be a big Brennan Johnson fan. I mean, you have had plenty of back and forth over this guy all season long.
What I saw of Odegaard on Thursday is what I want to see from Brendan Johnson. To be fair, look, I'm not claiming he does need to improve his game. I'd also say that when he has been there and there about the box, it is a skill within itself. Being there and being in the right place, getting in the right position. So, you know, there is a bit of plus to his game. Yes, he does need to take on his man. Yes, he needs to improve on his defense. I do agree with you on that. But I just feel he gets a lot of heat unnecessary. He is our top goal scorer this season. Last season he get more assists than anybody else actually. The end of last season as well. He's got the talent. He just needs to knuckle down and in the summer learn on the stuff he doesn't do well and get better on that, and then get better what he does do well. Odegaard has set the precedent now. This is what you want from your winger. You want a winger to take on your man, to put a cross in. Brendan Johnson has to use the summer to improve on that and come back next season better and start ramming some of this down other people's throats. That I can be a good player. I can be a good winger for Spurs. And he's got the talent. He just needs to knuckle down and work hard. And I think that's his problem. He doesn't work hard. When you look at Odegaard, he works hard. You look at other young Mikey Moore, other players that come in for his position, they run their socks off defensively. He needs to learn to do that. He needs to improve on that. I'll admit that, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone makes him out to be.
No, look, I hear you. Look, the reason why I don't think he's ever really going to improve as a player is because hard work should be the bare minimum of any professional athlete. Bare minimum of any professional athlete. And if he's not willing to work hard on the press or work backwards, that shows me he's not willing to stay back and work on beating players, crossing the ball, stuff like that. Hard work is a bare minimum and a requirement for any player. And if we're asking him to work hard, that screams problems for me, you know, straight off the bat. But also, I don't think the criticism has been unwarranted. I think it's been more than warranted. People like me have been proven right to a large degree. Overall, you can't survive off just arriving in and finishing off everybody else's work. You know, you think Son wouldn't like Johnson to put chances on the plate the way he has for him? You know, Solanke, people like that, of course they would. But the guy is incapable, which makes us very one-dimensional going forward and very easy to set up against. So for me, there's so much that he lacks, and I think the criticism has been warranted. In fact, you know, a lot of the defenders of this guy, they come out with names like Brenaldinho and stuff. I didn't hear any praise. You know, people have praised Odegaard, but people haven't gone over the top calling him Odegaardinho, you know, stuff like this and everything else. You know, people have been very reserved with it, and I don't think they need to go over the top because they're not trying to cover half of the stuff that he doesn't do. They don't need to, because you got a player that works hard, can take people on, can score goals, put balls in the box. So they don't need to give him fake nicknames to cover up for half the work he doesn't do.
I've never given them any fake nickname, by the way.
No, but it's been out there. It's been
I know
out
it
there.
has, and I don't think it's right. I also think as well his price tag was well overpriced as well. He's not a £50 million player, or how much we paid for him. I think that's overinflated. I think he's a 15, 20 million pound player, if that. So I think that is why I think his price tag has sort of preceded him as well. We've paid 50 million of you. We need more from you. And where he's not a 50 million pound player, Solanke's not a 60 million pound striker. I think it's just the transfer market gone mad. And I think a lot of these players that are average and you know, that need improvement are well overpriced. So I think his price tag as well as sort of led us to believe we're
that happens when you pay for homegrown players.
I was going to say, homegrown tax, isn't it? Probably like 20%,
you know,
30%.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but he's not a 50 million pound player. We can all agree on that.
It's not stopping him from trying to be a 50 million pound player, though.
No, he can improve. It can improve. I agree with his work ethic. I've said it once or twice on here, Dave, that his work ethic is shite. I've said it to you as well, that I think it was Newcastle. He goes hiding. I've criticised him when he needs criticising. But I just think there is a player there. He needs to knuckle down and unlock that himself. Nobody else can do it bar himself. He's got to unlock it himself. And once he does unlock it, there is a player there, but he's got to want to do it. He's got to want to put the hard work in and do the time. So that's how I see it.
No, absolutely. Well, Paul Markey saying all that, I wouldn't be surprised to see him come back into the lineup today, to be quite frank. So let me know how you'd feel if that was the case, Paul Markey. Big yourself up. Let's take a couple more comments here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. So, Sniper Gamer says, guys, serious question. Moore's been poor in a few Premier League games he has played. Needs to strengthen up. Please take off the one of our own bias. Look, I don't think it is bias whatsoever. I think you look at Mikey Moore in the Europa League. He's been one of our shining lights this season, the way he's ripped teams apart, and he would have had more of a name for himself if Timo Werner could finish this season. I remember there was a couple of games in Europa League, he's put Werner in through, and he hasn't taken the chance. I would argue, maybe the Palace game, he looked a bit out of sorts, but you go back to that Everton game, came off the bench, was the only one showed the ability to be able to put it across to the back post for Charleston to put home. You got to remember, this kid is 17, and he's shown more winger ability than someone like Brennan Johnson. I think I would argue from what we've seen, he's shown more exciting bits than most of our wingers this season to a large degree. And the reality is, it's not just Tottenham fans, like you say, maybe overhyping them. There's a large recognition within the England setup that this guy could be a future generational talent as well. And for me, I'd much rather develop him and I'd be much more impressed with what I've seen from him. What I've seen from Matisse Dell, to be quite frank. And I'm just being honest there. And also, we could sit here and say about one of our own. Do you want to keep going through the stage when we do get European football that we're having to keep registering 3-4 goalkeepers just to meet the homegrown quota? The reason, and when you do that, it leaves you short. You want to get a good 25-man squad together, plenty of cover across all positions, not just registering 4 or 5 goalkeepers to fill out a squad. You need to bring the likes of a Mikey Moore, a Donnelly, players like that through. And the reason why I say that is because I have not seen in my lifetime supporting this team an age group that has come true with the amount of talent at our disposal as I've seen over the last couple of years. And I think it's a prime opportunity to try and get that 4 club-trained players, which are players that have come through the academy, into your first team through. And I'm not on about just having them around just for the sake of ticking off box ticking exercises like we've done in years gone by. Players that can actually contribute. So for me, I think there's a real opportunity to get ahead of this on that snow side per game. But big yourself up. We've got Rayman says it's like everyone is forgetting that a major problem last summer was a homegrown and academy transfer list. Sack off hell and start promoting our youth so they can fill the squad. We also have Archer in the house who says, I think ideally a centre-back or a centre-field should be captain. But we don't have committed leaders in those positions. And I agree with you. That's where traditionally I'd sort of prefer my captain at centre-back where they can see everything, at centre midfield where they, again, they can get messages to the back line and to the striker, stuff like that. I do agree with that, Archer. Big yourself up, my man. I think we already took Camping Joe's comment there. And then we've got Sean Johnston says, sorry, Dave, I won't hear a bad word about Barval, mistakes or not. He's been our best player in the last month and he's getting better every time he plays for us. No, look, I think people are maybe missing my point. I'm not slating Bergvall. Anyone go back to the preseason games we were watching. I said, this guy is going to be one hell of a player from Tottenham, the way he gets on the ball, controls it, manipulates it, he's got good passing. One thing I was surprised about the other night, and that I have been generally surprised about is his ability actually to get around, get stuck in, turn that ball over. I thought maybe that would be something that would come a little bit later on, but, he seems to bring all the assets to be a really good midfielder and have absolutely everything. Because one thing that drives me mad about modern day football, you're either CDM or you're a cam, you're a 6 or you're an 8. In my day, a midfielder had to defend and be able to be somewhat competent going forward to a large degree. So I do think, I don't think that should change. I still think that should remain the same. And I think Bergvall strikes me as one of them players. He can do both sides of what you're asked to do in midfield. But my point is, we have to accept, that we do have one of the youngest squads this season. And at times, some of the youngsters and the mistakes they have made have come back to cost us. Now, of course, it's a part of their learning development. But, this is a thing that maybe people put on Ange Postecoglou. But, if you've got young players and they're making their mistakes, it's going to happen on the next guy as well. And it's just something that I'm pointing out that maybe he needs to improve on a little to become a player that doesn't, cost us in big moments and stuff like that, Sean Johnston. But make no mistake about it, I'm a big fan of the Swedish players we've got at this football club. Absolutely, and actually love them. Spurs, Super Spurs TV, big up Blaine. Good to see you. Morning, lads. It's a sunny Sunday. It's Paddy's Day tomorrow, so I'm going to be optimistic today. 4-2 Spurs, sunny brace, and one from Bergvall and Solanke. Come on, you Spurs. Well, Blaine, I believe you're up from more the northern part of the country, Northern Ireland. If I'm correct, I could be completely wrong. If I am, feel free to hammer me in the comments. But what way is your Paddy's Day looking up there? What are you going to get up to? Please let me know in the comments as well. And yeah, you're right. It's actually really overcast down here, so you're probably in the right part of Ireland today. But look, hopefully we can get the win. That's what we're all here for to do. I think there's a massive opportunity to build on the good feel factor in the fan base after that Vitesse game. Put another win on the board, and then you go into the international break, come off it. All of a sudden, there's renewed hope, to finish out the season strong. At the end of the day, we're fickle as fans. All we need is something minute, and we'll try and push behind it and get behind it. That's all we need. So let's get that win today. You're absolutely spot on. Big up, Blaine. Really appreciate the support, my man. Now, guys, I am going to take this moment temporarily to plug the one and only NordVPN. Just give me 1 second. I might actually pass on another question and actually just come back to it quickly, just make sure I'm fully prepared for it. So, Drew, I'm just going to go to you quickly maybe on Jed Spence's mission from the England squad. Despite your strong recent performances, it's left many Spurs fans baffled that he hasn't been included. Do you believe that he was unfairly overlooked and did Spence deserve a place in the England squad?
I think he probably, it's a tough one because I'm actually kind of glad he's not going. I think it's good that he's going to get a rest, for the next couple of weeks and stay at Hotspur Way and train. So it doesn't really bother me. And I'm not a huge fan of national team football anyway, really. But I mean, from his point of view, I'm sure he'll obviously be disappointed. But, let's get real about Jed Spence. I think he's fantastic. I think he's absolutely blown us away for the last, 3-4 months. But his career has essentially been 3 or 4 months, right? I mean, this is the first time he's really, I guess, other than the stint at Forest, this is the first time he's really, really shown consistency. So I think from that point of view, I think if he can do it for the rest of the season and look to maybe get a call up beginning of next season, I don't think there's any harm in that. Like I say, I'll take nothing away from him. The guy has, pulled his socks up and been absolutely fantastic. But I just think there's maybe, in the meritocracy, there's maybe a couple of people ahead of him, maybe.
Interesting. Do you know what? For me, look, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs if he made the England squad or not, because quite frankly, it doesn't really affect me. I'm more worried about Ireland coming good again. We've got a double header against Bulgaria to keep our place in the B group in the Europa League, But at the end of the day, I do look at some of the call-ups, maybe the lack of left-backs within that England squad. I just wonder, has Thomas Tuchel missed a trick? He's watched a lot of Tottenham games since being announced, and I just wonder, has he missed a trick? But for me, reality is it's actually all about how Spence bounces back. The reality, Postecoglou's made it hard for him at Tottenham. He's had a hard way to get to this level anyway. I don't think it'll be any surprise, and I just hope the kid can go, do you know what? It's just another hurdle in the road for me to overcome. I've proved everybody wrong up to this point. Let's go and do the same. What I hope it doesn't do is affect his confidence and affect his level of performances, because with Jed Spence, this is sort of uncharted territory, missing out on an England squad and having that disappointment. It's not something that he's been used to in his time at Tottenham Hotspur or in his career so far. So it'll be interesting to see how, it affects him to a large degree. But guys, I do want to take this moment though to plug the best VPN in the world, and that is NordVPN. And basically, we're running a partnership between now and the end of the season, and they just want to, they've had a call to action. They want to help as many of you as possible. With our Premier League season more or less being over, we don't have a lot of games left on television, but they do show Tottenham games in other countries. Like today, for example, right? You can't watch it in the UK and Ireland. But if you have your NordVPN and you shop around, you can get subscriptions elsewhere, and you can go and watch that Tottenham game. So for me today, for instance, I'm going to put myself in Seattle beside Jack, and I'm going to be able to watch that Tottenham game. And that's what a NordVPN allows you to do. It just allows you to tune in to things in other countries or other sporting events around the world that maybe are not shown in your area and go and watch them. And I think it's absolutely brilliant, because I remember growing up here in Ireland in a day where you had 4 channels, RTE1, RTE2, TV3, and TG4. Outside of that, doesn't matter what was on Sky Sports, BT Sports, or any other, whatever was happening around the world. If it wasn't shown on them 4 channels, I didn't get to watch it. So it's amazing how far technology have come along. A fair play to NordVPN for bringing this, to people. Because believe it or not, there was a time where people like me didn't get to watch half of this shit. But I think the best thing about NordVPN is their concentration on protecting your data, whether that's on public Wi-Fi or whether you're surfing the internet. They have this they have put protections in place to be able to protect you from all this sort of stuff. And in the day we live in, everyone sees all the links and everything else. We're getting spammed and all that sort of stuff. Well, it's a good thing that you got someone like NordVPN sitting there helping and looking to protect you, which is absolutely brilliant. But also, when I've gone on holidays, I've tried to tune back into my TV subscriptions and it says, not available in this area. I just switch on my NordVPN and hey presto. And the great thing about it is, it's no buffering, no lagging, which is absolutely brilliant. It is the fastest in the VPN world, faster than all of their competitors. And the great thing is you can have it on to up to 10 devices. So guys, if that sounds like for you, if any of you are planning, I know we're coming into the summer holidays and all that sort of stuff. If any of you are planning trips away, I would advise to have a little VPN in your back pocket because it makes it easier for you. And technically, if you've got kids, for them as well. It means you can keep them preoccupied if you need to get stuff done. So guys, all you have to do if you do want to avail of this is literally get over to nordvpn.com and get over, check it out. There are various different sort of plans available to you, but there's a 2-year plan that we have with these guys on a special offer. If you want to avail of that, just put in the code FLATCAP and they have a 30-day money back guarantee. So thank you, NordVPN. Really appreciate the support. And guys, like I said, if you're going away on holidays or anything like that, it's absolutely brilliant for you. But look, I think we got another message in here. We've got Blaine Devlin is giving away 5 IrishHotspur memberships. Just give me 1 second. I'll open up the YouTube page, Blaine, and see who's been there.
They're going to 7, to Nicholas Coulson, to Dan Green, to Ross Parsons, to Swim Master. So there you go.
Well, there you go, guys. Make sure you get in and thank Woodsy. That's very, very generous of him. He must be delighted that Paddy's Day is right around the corner. So very, very kind of you on that, Blaine. Look, it'd be good to have a chat with you one day as well on here as well about all things Tottenham. At some point, we'll get, that ironed out. Let me know. Will you be watching the Ireland-Bulgaria game, Thursday night as well? But big up, Blaine. Very, very generous of you. And guys, them memberships, make sure you check out the post section, members only content, fan shows, all that sort of good jazz. But guys, just quickly, who do we think is going to be the fullback pairing today? Do we think there's going to be any changes from Porro or Spence? We'll just go to you quickly on this one, Donovan. We only need one person to answer this. Well, I'll go around with other questions for others.
Yeah, I rotated out Spence. Porro. I think Porro away at Craven Cottage with her poor record and just bumpily pitch, old school ground. Marco Silva just a tactical genius. He'll throw in behind Porro and he'll expose that space in behind. So I think Spence is proven good on the road away at St. Mary's as well. He was like 10 seconds, 12 seconds into the game. He spun his mad and he put on Madison through. So I think it's going to be Udogie and Spence. And Anthony Udogie was rested, fully fledged to come in for this fight. And it'll be a back line of, I guess you asked about the fullbacks, but it'll be Udogie.
Your super your centre backs as well, Donovan, because some people, look like me. I think reading into Postecoglou's words, does he maybe take Van de Ven out just to protect them a little bit?
Well, protect him for what? Like we have another month to play knockout football. So are we going to deprive this man football until for a month? And then
what I mean by protect them, Donovan, is right now, and I think We Are Tottenham TV put out an interview, about it today, which I think is absolutely brilliant because it's something that I was trying to get across. He is still in the middle of seeing an expert. I think it's this Dutch expert. And basically what the conclusion that they've come to is that he has to change his running style in order to get longevity out of a career. Because if he doesn't, them hamstring injuries are going to keep reoccurring. So, is it the case where Tottenham are still trying to manage him through this situation to a degree?
Oh, totally. Like holding back from himself. Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Then it's almost like a question. That's a good different question you have to have. It's like, then it's man versus player. Like, what do you want first? Like, you just support the guy as a man, or do you want him just as a football player and look at him as as an asset, right? So, like we're in a situation where it's like we weren't even confident as the Spurs. Well, I must speak for everybody's we. Like I wasn't confident that I would see. Yeah, right. Look, throw you guys in there. Um, I wasn't confident that I'd see Van de Ven play a full 90 minutes of football. Like be able to be full again, like healthy and like get from start A to finish and not have to be taken as an injury sub. And to see his number being called and him actually finish a shift and to get a good observation. Like, I mean, that's solid. That's something you build off of, right? Those are build off of. And when you see saving him, I mean, well, saving him for me is like, we'll save him for what? We'll save him for.
Yeah. Wrong terminology from me. What I mean is maybe, just sort of being cautious and making sure that we can get him back to the point where he's playing full 90 minutes. Saving him, you're right, saving him was the wrong way I put it towards you. I was unfair of me, actually.
No, it's all good.
Save him from himself.
No. So it's like, plus it's like that solid trio, right? Like when you how do you put this? Like when you're that good of a footballer, it makes the game easier. And when you have three of those players of the level of Van de Ven, Romero, and Vicario are able to play out of the back, and you saw what it did. We did that Ange goal. Like we advanced with an Ange goal, right? Like passing it back, starting with Vicario, and we pass it right into their goal there. And so it just shows that, and even Ange himself, like it just shows like when you have my players back or results, you'll see. And so, like you save him for this game, you get another 60 minutes out of him. You don't play a football that's like you said, where it's crucial, where it's like you expose this guy to make him do 12, 30 wind sprints within a confined period of time. And I get that. I get that. Like you have to change your running style. Everybody does it.
That's mad. I've never heard it. Well, I've never really heard of that before. Changing your running styles can save your hamstring. Never heard of that.
Well, it's like I can see it because it's like he's a big lad. He's like a big lad, and big guys, and like not just big guys, but like people with big frames, like he'll have more athletic problems than like people. It's like a dog breed. Like a bigger dogs have, you know what I mean? And so it's like with the frame, it's a human skeleton. That's a totally different. That's a totally different conversation. But that's a really good. I'll have to check it out. It was We Are Tottenham TV. You said did that.
Yeah, I think was We Are Tottenham TV put out an interview that Mickey Van de Ven gave. Now, look, this was reported on, when I went to do the research on the medical department, I did stumble across this, but, it's good that it's out there now and that people actually, in an interview form, that people now have the understanding with Mickey Van de Ven, what's going on around him because, changing your running style, I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. You've been running one way for like 20 years of your life, and all of a sudden they're telling you to change it up and do it another way. It's absolutely mad. It's mind-boggling.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, there's a really interesting, I don't know if this is the same interview. There's an interview on Haters TV.
Maybe that's the channel. Maybe it's only
about 3 minutes long, and
that's the one.
It says 100% fit after working with specialists.
We Are Talking TV. I've posted the same one an hour ago as well.
Yeah. I mean, if you listen to some of the things he says in there as well, it is something that he's been aware of. Like he has had some sort of issue with his style of running since his first club, and he does mention having to kind of work on it. And I think it's a case of I don't know if maybe he kind of fell off or something, or just got too comfortable and kind of fell back into old habits. But it does seem like he's kind of, after, say working with him, he himself feels 100% fit. So when you say sort of saving him from himself, saving him, I do feel like there is a little bit of kind of saving him just from, because I'm sure he wants to push himself. And I think there's probably just an element of just like, whoa, let's just, let's go 80%, 90% for a minute, and then get to your 100, right?
Yeah. No, I think that's what they're trying to do. The fact that he came off after 60 minutes the other night, that stinks of people behind the scenes saying 60 minutes is the max he can give you. Because one thing people are not taking into account nowadays, and and we'll let Donovan back in. I know Donovan wants to come back in. Is there's a thing out there called the red zone now. And, you're hearing more and more people come out and say or talk about it. It's like, some of the older professionals don't understand it. It's like, what's wrong with pushing people? You know what I mean? It's like as soon as they hit a red
Right.
zone now, people are being pulled out mid-training sessions. You know, you're taking players off after a certain amount in the game because they're hitting red zones. And they're almost saying that, you know, and basically the red zone is dictated by the fitness people, and they're saying through a computer he's in the red zone. And you know, some of these athletes are trying to say, well, look, everyone's, you know, fitness is different. You know, just because a computer says I feel fine, this, that, and the other, and it is causing a lot of chaos around football clubs. But sorry, anyway, that's just me going off on a tangent. Sorry, Donovan, go on.
No, brilliant talk, because it like shows like how football just like and modern sports and stuff and how the game
It's
evolves.
all computer based now.
I was just gonna touch on what Drew said there, and like it just kind of confirmed there. Like I agree with that. How when you're at that level of athleticism too, like everybody has niggles and stuff, and you have to manage that, right? And so it's like he obviously managed these hamstring injuries like over his career for a certain amount of time, and like you said, if there was complacency or just like we did win 10 games in a row, and so like you know you're on top of the world, and I have a problem with my own MCL, my right knee. And you talk about alternating running styles to make your career longevity increase. Well, for me, it's like I play now on this artificial turf, and it's horrible for your joints, and so that's just yeah, and I magnified my knee injury more because of that this season. And I've experienced that where I had to alternate my personal running style and like how I approach my minutes, and I started managing my minutes. And every player has to go through it. And it's something that you talk about sports psychology and stuff, and it's somebody you talk to, and that's a conversation that you have. And we're seeing it in full blood with Sonny, because Sonny's no longer that player who can like hit full stride. And then once he hits full stride, get to the end of it and execute a finish. Like he's out of wind by the end of it. By the time he's at full stride, poor Sonny's red in the face, and he's here. Here we go. What do we got going on here? Lineup.
Oh yeah. So, no, finish what you're saying. I'll read out the lineup then, Donovan.
No. I'm interested in the lineup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just quickly, Blaine, I will be doing a watch along, I think, Thursday for the Ireland game over on Big Up. You know, if any Irish fans out there do want to come and, you know, join me over there, see how we get on. But the lineups are out, guys. Bit of a different graphic today, nice and colourful. Maybe trying to make people alert this early into the day. But the lineup is out. Vicario comes into goalkeeper. Spence goes in at right back. Romero and Davies at centre back with Udogie at left back. So Van Ven has dropped out. Bentancur, Basuma, and Gray in midfield with Johnson, Solanke, and Tell in the forward line. A lot of changes here in this lineup. On the bench is Kinski, Van de Ven, Pedro Porro, Sarr, Bergvall, Madison, Udebur, Son, and Dane Scarlett. Now, the back line, I'm not surprised about. I got absolutely spot on. And to a degree, the midfield, I'm not surprised about. The only one is maybe Basuma coming in here. Apart from that, I did predict Bentancur and Gray would play. I did think Bergvall coming off with cramp the other night would mean he would get a rest. Sarr, you're not really putting in a great performance the other night because of his fast and because of Ramadan. You know, I also thought he would drop out. But the forward line is where maybe I am a little bit surprised about resting the likes of Udebur and Son, which I'm not sure for me is the correct decision. I think because the forward line has been so, you know, hit and miss this season, I do think it would have been an ideal opportunity for him to develop that front three and play them out there and hopefully develop more confidence. But look, it is what it is tonight. I think clearly Postecoglou is trying to get a reaction heading into the international break because we have lost the last 5 heading in there. So let's wait and see. But look, give us your thoughts at home in the comment section here but about your thoughts on this lineup. I'll bring them up as I go along. Also, if you have enjoyed today's show, please make sure you run that like button up. It really helps push us out in the algorithm. If anyone ever wonders why, you know, people say run the likes up, it helps, you know, attract more attention to the channel, basically. If you have enjoyed it as well, you can support in a number of ways via super chat or gifting out channel membership. So getting yourself a membership. If there's anything you think we missed, put it in the chat and we'll do our best to get onto it before we end off. But let's go through the panel. Let's find out their thoughts on the lineup and get their score predictions. And then we will come back for the watch along. Darmo, give us your thoughts on your score prediction, my man.
Look, the forward line does not inspire me one little bit, to be fair. With Tell, I would have started Sonny. Great to see Gray in midfield. I would Basuma as well. Another one doesn't inspire me. I mean, but you know, it is a team. The back line, I think, is a good back line. I think I've got no problems with that back line. And for go and go, look, I think it's a game we have to win. We have to go into the international break with a win. I think the bench is strong as well. If you look at the bench as well, we've got players to come on there to change it if we need to. Do you know what? I said it in my predicted thing 3-1. I'm going to stick by that and think we're going to win 3-1. And
interesting. Well, look, I'll snap your hand off for it now, Dermo. Fucking hell, I would, just another win. Lazy 8 saying it's a Paddy's Day graphic, Dave. Well, yeah, look, it looks like it is. It's absolutely brilliant. But guys, big up Dermotron. I'm going to put his link in the chat for you guys. Make sure you do get across. Check out his channel.
I just wanted to add one more thing, Dave, very quickly. Just tomorrow, we're doing the I'm doing my usual St. Patrick's Day show tomorrow evening. I do one every year.
What are you doing?
We'll just have a bit of crack. We talk about
we're trying to come out
with the all-time.
That's one hell of a Paddy's Day, dude. What?
Yeah. We're going to come up with the best Irish Spurs 11 tomorrow. We're going to try to do that, and also we're going to do our traditional. We played this video where it's a Pochine raid, Dave. You know what it means over here. And it's from the 80s, but we put our own take on it with the football news that's going around. So we have a bit of a laugh. It's a bit of fun. I've been doing it now for the last 2 years, and every year we do it. So it's a bit of fun. And just to give you, it may be cloudy where you are, Dave, but down here in sunny Wexford, the sun is splitting the trees. It's warm. And I keep telling you, we're the best county in Ireland. So just get used to that.
Wow.
Wow.
You see, we'll compare parades tomorrow and, get back to me when
don't worry, our parade tomorrow will be a man and his dog, a cow, a sheep, and a tractor. That'll be about it.
Honestly, the local parades are all the same. You've got a representation of all the, the guards, the ambulance, the fire brigades. Then you've got the kids of the local GAA club, and then whatever else any other, town idiot can come up with. Anyway, let's keep it moving. But guys, make sure you get across and check out THFC Till I Die. DB says 7 changes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 changes are absolutely spot on that one, DB. I mean, Drew, what's your thoughts just on the lineup and give us your score prediction? Because, looking at the chat here, I see some people saying, you know what, exciting. But I see a lot of people questioning where the creativity is going to come from today.
I mean, I would say based on that, it's supposed to be a really solid midfield. The wingers are supposed to get to the byline and putting crosses for Solanke. So in that instance, I'm not sure you really need an attacking midfielder per se.
But they're not really wingers that cross a ball, though, are they?
Well, no, exactly. This is what I was just about to say. So, but the problem is we've got a couple of wingers that up till now, I mean, Tell, to be honest, I still need to give him, I get exactly everything you said earlier on. And I think it is, even more so when you put it the way that you did, even more so, I'm kind of less pleased to see him. But it is what it is. He's here. We're paying for him. So, you just got to get the most out of him and see, and if he comes up with some sort of, if he comes up with an assist and a goal today or something like that, then I'm not going to be disappointed. But yeah, it's hopefully a solid midfield. And I think maybe as well, maybe having seen what Gray is capable of, especially against Chelsea last year in the Cup, don't be surprised to see him. He's got it in him to put a ball in or put a ball through. I just don't think we've seen it. But yeah, we'll see. As Skunkworks says, too solid. Let's see. Yeah, maybe not as solid as I want it to be in my head.
There's just a part of me. There's just part of me that thinks maybe some people are drained after, a bit disheartened, a bit disheartened maybe after seeing that lineup.
No, I'm not going to say disheartened because I genuinely, I feel like as a team that wants to be the team we want to be, God, I sound like Ange now. I just feel like we should be able to do this and still get a result. Now we're away from home, it's Fulham, so it's tricky anyway. But I'm still pretty confident we can take at least a point. I'd like to see 3, and I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility. But an away point in the Premier League is a good point. So if it ended up being another 2-2, I would take it. But I'm going to go for my tried and tested 3-1 because at some point it has got to come through. Let's go.
No, absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Skunkworks. No, look, I just think the fact that he came off with cramp the other day, do you really want to push him? I think one thing I will say is he'll come off the bench and make an impact today. That's for sure. Skunkworks. Big up, my man. But look, many fans, Donovan, happy to see Archie Gray come into that midfield. Now, look, it remains to be seen what position he's going to play in. Is it going to be a number 8? Is it going to be a number 6? I mean, can you make out what way that midfield is going to work? We know how the back line and the forward line is going to work, but that midfield is a bit of an unknown. All of them could play the 6, and you would argue, and all of them. I know Bentancur and Basuma probably are more the 8s. Is that what we're going to see today? What's your feeling?
Yeah, as long as it's not some weird hybrid 3 we saw, in the first, what was that, Everton game, the first half against Everton game, this weird hybrid 3, and then
yes,
and then it totally, and it totally just, yeah. So I'm hoping Gray plays a 6, and like you said, he does those marauding runs forward. But I look back to that game. I don't want to be too negative here, but I look back to that game at Craven Cottage about a year ago when we did have to rotate our squad, and we had a Davies starting at center back. And I'm trying to think back to how many changes were in that squad. Like Hoyerberg's no longer there, the Celso. Trying to think Dyer, right? So, right. And like other than that, I'm not seeing anything too crazy. I don't see where the 3-1's coming from. I love that. I really love that. I really do, and I really hope it happens. I really hope it does. Tell for me is we kind of got both. Like we both kind of like gentleman's agreement, like shake hands with like you got like a knife behind each other's back, kind of ready to go. Where it's like Tal just wants to experience and wants to get his brand up on a global stage, and we just wanted some striker that would come in and run minutes for us while Solanke needed to come back from the treatment table. So I'm hoping he can do something. I'm hoping Odebert and him were mates apparently growing up. So hopefully there's something. Johnson, you know how much we all love Johnson here. So 9 goals or 10 goals or something for Johnson this year. So 1-1. 14 goals. So yeah, I'm going for a 1-1. 1-1 draw. And it'll be a Spence.
Look, it's interesting because, you got SOF saying Fulham win today and just sacking off the league. And then you got Soul Sniper Gaming saying fans bitch about not rotating for months. And when he does, they moan he can't win. Look, I do agree with that from Soul Sniper Gaming. When he doesn't rotate, people say he's too stubborn. He should have, because the big thing was, right, about the injuries. I should have rotated earlier on the season. Now he's rotating. Fans are going mad. I do see your point, but also I do see SOF's point. It does sort of give off the vibe. Are we maybe just all the players and Postecoglou's eggs all in that one basket in the Europa League? It's a hard one to know, but look, I think the fact that we've lost 5 heading into the international break, we clearly have struggled with the Thursday, Sunday this season. I think, Postecoglou was always going to try and rotate to try and make this happen. I didn't expect it to be 7 changes, but look, let's see how we get on. But I want to say a massive thank you to Donovan getting up nice and early over there in Canada to be with us today. Drew getting up nice and early over there in the USA to be with us today as well, And by the way, these guys work as well. So the weekends is their time off and they're still here putting in a shift. So fucking appreciate that, gentlemen. And then Dermotron. And actually, Dermotron was on time today. He was nearly here before me today. So big up, Dermotron. Really appreciate it. Even Dermot's making small improvements between now and
is the F1 every week? Can we expect this from now until the end of the season?
Yeah, get up at 4 o'clock and watch the F1 every week. Absolutely spot on. But I really enjoyed today. I want to say a massive thank you to the 700 people at home watching across Twitter and YouTube. Really appreciate it. If you could run up them like buttons, that'd be brilliant. If you are new to the channel, you're viewing it on YouTube or Twitter for the first time, please come across and smash that subscribe button as we're on the big hunt for 18K. Reached over 17,100 today during this stream. Absolutely love that. Let's see if we can keep pushing this forward. So really appreciate that, guys. And I want to say a massive thank you to all of you guys at home as well. These 10:30 starts, look, they're not easy to do, to get your head straight and start talking about Tottenham and shit like that. I don't know how people do it so early in the morning, but you guys at home, I know you've got families, breakfasts, fitness schedules, and all that sort of jazz to keep on top of, and you still make the effort to come here. So I really appreciate every single one of you. And to the people that have also gone a step further today to help, keep this channel alive and keep it going and growing. Faz Radfar, Paul Markey, and Super Spurs TV as well. Really appreciate that, guys. But guys, we'll be back here in half an hour's time for the watch along. look, what I will say is get your scrum caps ready. These games against Fulham are usually more of a rugby affair. The referee allows them to take us out at all costs and doesn't show a yellow card till 89, 90 minutes. What I will say is Paulini is gone and Lukic is suspended for today, which I think is absolutely fucking huge because they're the two biggest culprits. So hopefully the referee gets the grip of that nice and early, books them, and then lets us play football, because that's what we are tune in to see. We don't want to play rugby like Fulham. We want to play football. So hopefully the referee allows that today. But guys, I'll see you back here in half an hour. As always, come on,
you Spurs.
Come on. Happy St. Paddy's Day.
Oh, happy St. Paddy's Day.
Oh, yeah. By the way, for anyone I won't see tomorrow, because you won't see me around here tomorrow, I will be out and about doing Dave things, a day in the life of Dave. Happy St. Paddy's Day.
Brilliant. Happy.